Hi, this is the second sculpting video in the Gigantic series, a Curvy 3D character modelling tutorial. We'll be modelling the head, base shape and eyes in this tutorial. So again, the brown is what we're aiming at, and the grey is what we're currently working on. So the head was drawn with 3 curves. As you can see, the orange lines here. I'm going to make it slightly transparent so we can see a reference model behind. I pressed K to turn it into a sculptable mesh. You can also use the mesh menu right at the bottom to change the type of mesh it is. So now it's a sculptable mesh, we can deform it with, say, the soft move tool. So there I've used Control to drag out a large soft move tool, and I'm tweaking the shape. This is good for very large changes, but also for small tweaks. So we've got the profile established quite easily. Now I'm going to move to the sub sculpting tool, just to hollow out a bit around the eyes and the cheek, to start laying down some proportions that I'll be using later on to sculpt with. So these are very sort of gentle changes to the model, trying to get the large features in place. Now if I press J, I'll turn the mesh into a subdivision mesh, and you'll notice the orange cross in the middle turns into a diagonal cross. And now when I sculpt, it'll be adding new geometry, so I can add finer details and sharper edges. Again, just sculpting out the eye socket around the cheek, bottom of the chin, the back of the chin. Now I'm going to use the Add tool, but I'm also going to increase the pinch to get a sort of sharp crease. Start to define where the nose is going to be, rough out where the mouth's going to be. And at this stage, there's not too much to lose on the model. If I needed to wipe out an area and redo it, that would be quite easy. Just using the smooth tools. Now I know I'm sculpting here from a mesh I made earlier, but typically I'd have pure ref in the corner with lots of different angles of a head I was going to sculpt. So even though my characters tend to have their own look, I tend to download lots of photos of a particular actor or person to inspire that look, and then perhaps mix in 2 people into one head. So here I've only been sculpting one side of the model. If I mirror it and it's not centered, it all goes a bit wrong. So now I'm going to move the model, try and line it up with the center line on the grid, the slightly brighter grey line on the grid. Now I'll try and mirror again, that butterfly tool. That's much better. Just use the pinch tool to make the nose area a bit narrower. So it looks a bit weird at the moment, but it'll come together later on. At this stage, it's mainly about getting the proportions right. So next we're going to add some eyes. You can see in the example on the left, I've got sculpted eyes. Now usually eyes are about 9 eyes make 1 head. So I'm going to duplicate this sphere as a proxy change the proxy mode to array, and then duplicate it 9 times by moving the A offset down, and then baking the action. I usually bake the action twice to turn it back into normal spheres rather than proxies. So now we've got 9 eyes. Just going to scale this to the height of the head. That's about the right height. Now we only need one of these. So I'm going to take one out of the group and then delete the rest of the group. So I group them with Control G after I baked them from the proxy array. Just checking it's the right size compared to my reference. So there I'm putting it in place and then holding Shift with the Move tool to move it in and out of the screen. Then switching to perspective, I'm going to copy and mirror paste, paste mirrored, to get eyes on both sides. There we go, we got some eyes roughly in the sockets in the right place. Now I'm going to use the sub tool just to cut away a little bit further, so the eye sockets are a little bit deeper where the eyeball is. Then I'm going to use the Sculpting Add tool to basically paint on some eyelids. We're going to be adding much more definition and detail to these later. This is just to get the basic shape going. So you can zoom in for more control. This time I'm going to use a little bit of pinch to tighten up a sharper edge on the corner of the eyelid. It basically creates a crease where you pinch, and use a little bit of sub, again with a bit of pinch, to start defining those eyelids a bit more. And a quick mirror, just to see what it looks like on the other side, symmetrical. I'm going to rough in the nose. So I tend to sculpt in a fairly blank expression and then add emotion to the face later. This is mainly because it's easier to get a lot of reference material in fairly neutral expressions. And then you can add the expression by raising an eyebrow or pulling back a crease around the mouth, or the different ways emotion's expressed on a face. Again, I'm not worrying too much about it being accurate or realistic at this stage. Just trying to lay down some landmarks, which I'll sculpt into later. Using the sub with pinch to define around the corner of the nostril. I wanted quite a thick nose here, so I'm broadening out the nose. Got flared nostrils ready for an angry expression later. One more part of the eyes, I wanted to add some pupils. I actually got rid of these in the final model because I wanted them to have a more sort of demonic, supernatural look. But it helps while I'm sculpting just to get an idea of what a more human eye would look like. Noticing in the side view my nose is all out of shape, so I'm going to use the Soften Move tool to drag that into something more suitable. Flattening out his nose and sharpening off at the end. You can also tweak any different mistakes in the shape. And then we have the basic head shape and eyeball. In the next part, we'll be adding much more detail to the face and teeth and other finer facial details. So come back for part 3 of the sculpting tutorial.